The Battlestar Galactica moved through space like a wounded animal that refused to die. Its metal skin was burned and scarred, but it still carried the last hope of humanity inside it. Around the great ship, smaller human vessels stayed close, flying in loose groups. These ships carried families, soldiers, workers, and children. They were tired. They were afraid. Space around them was silent, dark, and endless. Inside the Galactica, the air was heavy. People spoke in low voices. Some cried quietly. Others sat still, holding hands or staring at screens that showed nothing but stars. Everyone knew the truth. Earth was gone. Many colonies were gone. What remained of humanity now lived inside moving ships, always running, never resting. Commander David Holt stood on the command deck. He was not a loud man, but people listened when he spoke. His hair was dark with lines of gray, and his face showed many sleepless nights. He watched the stars through the main screen, arms behind his back. Officers waited nearby, reading data and checking systems again and again, hoping nothing else would fail. "Any change?" David asked. "No, sir," said Lieutenant Mark Evans. "All ships are holding position. Engines are stable." David nodded. He wanted to believe that calm would last, even for a short time. But deep inside he felt something was wrong. Space felt too quiet. In one of the civilian decks, a woman named Laura Mitchell sat with her young son. The boy clutched a small toy ship, its paint chipped from years of use. He asked the same question again in a small shaking voice. "Are we safe now?" Laura forced a smile and pulled him closer. "Yes, for now." She did not believe her own words, but she said them anyway. Around them, other families tried to do the same. Parents lied gently. Children pretended to be brave. Fear filled the halls like smoke, unseen but everywhere. Then the alarms sounded. They were not loud at first. Just a soft warning tone. On the command deck, screens changed color. New symbols appeared, strange and unknown. "Contact," Mark said, his voice tight. "Multiple objects. Long-range sensors." David stepped closer to the screen. The objects were far away, just shapes against the stars. They did not move like human ships. They drifted in strange patterns, slow and smooth, as if space itself carried them. "Identify," David said. "No match in our records," another officer replied. "They are not attacking. They're watching." The word felt wrong. Watching. Across the fleet, people felt it too. The sense that something was there, unseen but aware. Whispers spread fast. Some thought the enemy had found them again. Others prayed. Some froze in fear. Laura felt a chill run through her body. Her son dropped his toy. "Mom," he whispered. She hugged him tighter. Far away, beyond human sight, the alien fleet observed in silence. Their ships were dark and smooth, built with no sharp edges. They did not rush. They did not fire. They simply watched. Inside one alien vessel, figures stood before glowing symbols. They did not speak with voices. Information passed between them in pulses of light and thought. They studied the human ships carefully. They saw damaged hulls, weak shields, and uneven movement. They also watched the humans inside. The aliens saw panic and body movement. They saw broken order and crowded decks. They saw grief. They saw fear. Their records showed that species under such stress often collapsed. History across many worlds had proven this again and again. "These ones will break," one alien mind concluded. "They have already lost," another agreed. Back on the Galactica, David Holt made his choice. "Do not engage," he ordered. "No sudden moves. Defensive positions only." "But sir," Mark said, "we don't know what they want." David looked at the screen again. The alien ships remained distant, silent. "Neither do they," he said. "Not yet." Hours passed. No attack came. The aliens stayed just out of range, always present. Always watching. Some soldiers grew angry. "Why don't we strike first?" one muttered. "They're just waiting." Others were too tired to argue. In the medical bay, Dr. Helen Wright treated a man with burns from an old battle. Her hands moved fast and steady, even as her eyes showed fear. She had seen too much death already. She knew what fear could do to people if it stayed too long. "Stay calm," she told her patients again and again. "We are still here." The aliens noticed this too. They saw humans tending to each other, carrying the wounded, sharing food, comforting children. These actions did not match the patterns they expected, but they marked them as small, weak gestures that would fail under greater pressure. Time stretched. Sleep became hard. Every noise made people jump. The fleet felt like it was holding its breath. David finally spoke to the crew over the ship's system. His voice was calm, slow, and clear. "We are not alone," he said. "But we are still alive. Stay together. Trust each other. We endure this like we have endured everything else." The words spread through the ship. They did not erase fear, but they steadied it. Laura listened and held her son. Soldiers stood a little straighter. Engineers kept working. The aliens recorded it all. They marked this moment as the beginning of the end for humanity. A weak species trapped, afraid, waiting to be crushed. They believed time was on their side. They did not yet understand humans. They did not know that fear did not always mean surrender. And in the cold silence of space, both sides waited, watching each other, standing at the edge of something much larger than either of them understood. The attack did not begin with noise. It began with light. Thin beams flashed from the dark, cutting through space with cold speed. One moment, the human fleet drifted together in fear and silence. The next moment, alarms screamed across every ship. On the command deck of the Battlestar Galactica, warning symbols spread across the screens like fire. "They're firing," someone shouted. Commander David Holt grabbed the rail as the ship shook. The Galactica's guns answered at once, sending bright lines into the dark. But the alien weapons were different. They did not hit shields again and again. They struck once, clean and deep. A small transport ship near the edge of the fleet was hit first. Its engines went dark. The ship spun slowly, broken, before a second beam tore it apart. The explosion was silent in space, but inside the Galactica, people felt it like a punch to the chest. "Ship lost," Lieutenant Mark Evans said, his voice hollow. Then another ship was hit. And another. Panic spread fast. Inside the Galactica, the lights flickered. The floor shook as power dropped in several sections. In the engine level, Engineer Michael Reed was thrown against a wall. Sparks rained from above him. He groaned, pushed himself up, and ran toward the control panels. "Come on," he muttered, slamming his hand on the console. "Stay with me." The power system screamed with warnings. Lines were burned out. Backup systems tried to start but failed one by one. Michael wiped sweat from his face, his hands shaking as he worked. He had not slept more than 2 hours in days. His eyes burned, but he did not stop. "If this goes down," he said to the engineer beside him, "we lose life support on 3 decks. The other man nodded, fear clear in his eyes. "Do what you can." Michael rerouted power by hand, cutting energy from non-essential systems. Lights went out in living areas. Heating dropped. People screamed in the dark, but the engine stayed alive. In the medical bay, Dr. Anna Lewis stood knee-deep in chaos. Wounded crew members were carried in one after another. Burns. Broken bones. Blood everywhere. "Put him here," she said, pointing. "No, not there. Over there." Her voice was calm, but her hands moved fast. She pressed bandages, gave injections, and stitched wounds without pause. A nurse whispered to her, "We're out of painkillers in storage too." Anna closed her eyes for half a second. "Use half doses," she said. "Save the rest for the worst cases." A young soldier grabbed her arm. "My friend," he said, tears on his face. "Please." Anna looked at the man lying still on the bed. She checked his pulse. There was none. She gently shook her head. The soldier broke down, crying openly. Anna turned away before her own tears could fall. Outside, the battle grew worse. The alien ships moved like shadows, striking then pulling back. They did not chase. They did not rush. Each attack was calm, careful, and deadly. The human fleet tried to stay together, but damaged ships fell behind. Some lost engines. Some lost control. The aliens destroyed them one by one. Families watched through small windows as distant lights vanished. Every lost ship meant hundreds of lives gone forever. Food storage was hit by a blast on one support ship. Supplies spilled into space. Ration counts dropped sharply across the fleet. In the Galactica's lower decks, people lined up for meals that grew smaller each day. Hunger made tempers short. Children cried at night. Sleep became rare. Laura Mitchell shared a small food pack with her son. She pretended not to be hungry, giving him more than herself. Her hands shook as she watched him eat. "It's okay," she said softly. "We'll get more soon." She did not know if that was true. On the command deck, David Holt watched the fleet shrink. Every report felt heavier than the last. "How many lost?" he asked. Mark hesitated. 7 ships confirmed destroyed. 2 drifting, no response. David closed his eyes. 7 ships meant thousands of people. He forced himself to stand straight. "Keep the fleet moving," he said. "We cannot stop." Far away, the alien fleet observed in silence. They watched human ships burn. They watched signals go dark. They watched fear spread through movement and sound. Their systems recorded human pain in detail. Inside their command vessel, the alien minds shared their conclusions. Structural failure is rapid, one noted. Emotional collapse is visible, another replied. They saw humans shouting, running, and crying. They saw disorder grow. Food shortages. Power failures. Medical overload. This matched old records perfectly. A species under this stress will break, the alien minds agreed. They did not hear Michael Reed cursing softly as he forced one last system online. They did not hear Dr. Anna Lewis whisper encouragement to the wounded as her hands trembled from exhaustion. They did not see Laura holding her son through the dark, humming a song from Earth. Another attack hit. The Galactica shuddered hard. Hull alarms screamed. A section of the ship lost pressure. Emergency doors slammed shut, sealing dozens of people inside. Some survived. Some did not. Michael felt the engines dip again. No, 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 he said, running to another panel. His vision blurred. He leaned against the console, breathing hard, then forced himself to keep going. Anna collapsed against a wall for a moment, her back pressed to cold metal. Blood stained her sleeves. A nurse asked, "Doctor, are you all right?" Anna straightened. "I'm fine," she said, though her legs shook. "Bring me the next patient." Time lost meaning. Hours blended together. Attacks came, paused, then came again. Each time the fleet grew smaller. By the end of the cycle, the Galactica flew surrounded by fewer lights. Too many were gone. David Holt stood alone on the command deck, staring at the stars. He felt older than ever before. He wondered how much more his people could endure. Beyond them, the alien fleet drifted calmly. Their records showed a clear path. Human strength was fading. Loss was piling up. Hunger and fear were doing the work that weapons alone could not. The collapse has begun, the alien minds concluded. They believed they were watching the final chapter of humanity. They did not yet see what still burned quietly inside the human ships. They mistook suffering for defeat. And in that mistake, the future was already changing. The strike came without warning, faster and stronger than any before. A bright flash filled space, and the Battlestar Galactica shook as if something giant had slammed into it. Metal screamed. The ship lurched to the side. People were thrown from their feet as gravity failed for a terrible second. On the command deck, Captain James Carter was nearly knocked down. He grabbed the edge of a console and pulled himself upright. "Report," he shouted. Before anyone could answer, another hit landed. The sound rolled through the ship like thunder. Lights went out across several decks. Fire alarms screamed. Smoke filled the air. "We've lost aft shields," an officer yelled. "Multiple hull breaches." James looked at the main screen. The Galactica's image flickered, showing glowing wounds along its side. Fires burned openly in space where the hull was torn. "Damage control teams, move now," James ordered. "Seal the breaches. All hands, emergency stations." In the lower decks, fire spread fast. Fuel lines ruptured. Flames climbed walls and ceilings, turning corridors into tunnels of heat and smoke. People ran, coughing, screaming names of loved ones. Michael Reed was thrown to the floor again as another explosion rocked the engine level. He hit his head and tasted blood. The lights above him shattered, sending glass down like rain. He pushed himself up, dizzy. The engines were failing. Warning sounds overlapped in chaos. "Fire in Section 4, someone shouted. "Cooling systems are gone." Michael stared at the controls. If the engines overheated, the ship would die. Everyone would die. "I can slow it," he said, though his voice shook. "But I need to shut down half the power grid." "Do it," a voice replied over the intercom. "Just do it." Michael hesitated for only a moment, then pulled the lever. Power died across huge sections of the ship. Entire decks went dark. Air grew cold. People cried out as systems shut down around them. But the engines stayed alive. In the medical bay, Dr. Anna Lewis faced something worse than lack of supplies. Fire had broken through 2 levels above her. Smoke poured down vents. The wounded screamed as heat rose. "We have to move them," a nurse said in panic. "Now." Anna nodded. "Take who you can," she said. "Leave the rest oxygen masks and pray." A man grabbed her sleeve. His face was burned, his eyes wide with fear. "Please," he begged. "Don't leave me." Anna swallowed hard. She squeezed his hand. "I'll come back," she said, even though she knew she might not. Some patients were carried out. Others were left behind as flames closed in. Anna forced herself not to look back as the doors sealed. On the command deck, reports came in faster than they could be answered. Fire on Civilian Deck 7. We've lost communications with 2 fleet ships. Life support failing in sealed sections. James Carter listened, his jaw tight. Every choice meant death for someone. Save one area, lose another. Protect the engines, lose civilians. Stay together or scatter and die alone. Captain, Lieutenant Mark Evans said quietly, if we keep the fleet this close, we lose more ships. James stared at the tactical screen. Alien ships hovered at a distance, watching. Waiting. Order the fleet to spread, James said at last. Smaller groups. Jump when you can. But sir, Mark said, some ships won't make it. James closed his eyes. I know. The order went out. Some ships jumped away, damaged but alive. Others tried and failed. Engines died mid-jump. Ships vanished in flashes of light that never returned. In the darkened civilian decks, fear turned into anger. This is their fault, someone shouted. The command left us here. We're going to die, another screamed. People argued. Some fought over food. Others collapsed, crying openly. Children clung to parents who had no answers left. Laura Mitchell held her son close as the floor trembled beneath them. Smoke crept into the hall. People pushed past her, shouting. Stay with me, she whispered to her son. Don't let go. He buried his face in her chest, shaking. On the command deck, James Carter watched his crew argue for the first time. Officers snapped at each other. Voices rose. Fear cracked discipline. We should run, one officer shouted. Save the Galactica and leave the rest. And doom them all, another fired back. James slammed his hand down. Enough. The room fell silent. We do not abandon our people, James said. His voice was rough but steady. Not while this ship still breathes. Outside, the alien fleet recorded everything. They watched the Galactica burn. They watched smaller ships disappear. They saw humans running, crying, and fighting among themselves. Their systems marked sharp drops in order and morale. This is the breaking point, the alien minds shared. They saw Captain James Carter give orders that cost lives. They saw humans turn on each other in fear. They saw weakness confirmed. Inside their records, this moment was saved and labeled. Humanity, nearing collapse. Another explosion tore through the Galactica. A section of the ship was lost completely. Hundreds of lives ended in an instant. Michael Reed collapsed against a wall as the engine alarms finally quieted. The engines were stable, barely. He slid down, exhausted, his hands burned and bleeding. Anna Lewis sat on the floor of a sealed corridor, her back against cold metal. Smoke filled the air. She pressed her face into her hands and cried for the first time since the attacks began. James Carter stood alone on the command deck as fires slowly died and damage reports slowed. The ship was crippled. The fleet was broken. He stared at the stars and felt the weight of every lost life. Far away, the alien fleet drifted in calm silence. They believed the darkest hour had passed. They believed humanity could not endure much longer. They were certain the end was close. They did not understand that humans often look weakest just before they refuse to fall. Silence returned after the fires faded. It was not a peaceful silence. It was heavy and careful, like a held breath. The Battlestar Galactica drifted forward, wounded but alive. Many decks were dark. Many voices were gone. Yet the ship still moved, and so did the people inside it. There were no speeches. No cheers. No promises of victory. There was only work. Technician Emily Brooks sat alone in a small control room near the outer sensors. One wall screen flickered, half broken, showing delayed data from long-range scans. Emily's face was pale, her eyes tired, but her mind stayed sharp. She had been watching the alien attacks again and again, replaying every strike in her head. She noticed something strange. The aliens always struck from similar angles. They avoided certain ranges. Their strongest attacks came in cycles, never all at once. When humans scattered, the attacks slowed. When ships stayed close, the strikes grew heavier. Emily leaned forward, tapping commands with careful fingers. They're not hunting, she whispered to herself. They're testing. She pulled up older data. The pattern became clearer. The aliens expected humans to move in fear, to run wildly or freeze. When humans did something unexpected, the alien attacks hesitated. Emily felt a slow spark of hope. Not victory. Just survival. She stood and walked quickly through dim corridors toward the command deck. Crew members passed her quietly, carrying tools, sealing panels, sharing water. No one spoke much. Everyone understood that noise wasted strength. On the command deck, Captain James Carter listened as Emily explained. Her voice shook at first, then grew steadier. They expect us to fail, she said. They follow patterns. If we change our movement just enough, we can reduce damage. James studied the screen. You're saying we can't beat them? Emily nodded. Not directly. But we can stay alive. James looked around the room. Tired faces watched him. No one argued. Do it, he said. Orders went out quietly. The fleet changed shape. Ships moved in loose groups, then spread, then came together again. Nothing sharp. Nothing fast. Just enough to confuse. Pilot Daniel Moore felt the difference immediately. Daniel flew one of the Galactica's remaining fighters. His hands were steady on the controls, though his body ached with exhaustion. His ship showed damage warnings he could not fix. He ignored them. Keep it slow, he told his wingmate. No hero moves. They flew small arcs around the fleet, not chasing aliens, not firing unless needed. When alien weapons powered up, Daniel pulled back early. When the aliens paused, he pushed forward just enough to draw attention away from damaged ships. It was not brave. It was careful. An alien beam flashed past his ship, missing by meters. Daniel did not cheer. He simply adjusted course. In the civilian decks, something quiet changed as well. People stopped asking when it would end. They stopped shouting. Instead, they shared tasks. One person watched children while another repaired doors. Food was divided evenly. Even the smallest portions were shared without argument. Laura Mitchell helped seal a corridor with others she had never met. Her son sat nearby, silent but alert. We'll be okay, Laura told him, not loudly but with certainty. He nodded. In the medical sections, Dr. Anna Lewis worked with fewer supplies than ever, but she worked smarter. She trained volunteers to clean wounds. She reused equipment carefully. She rested only when she had to. Michael Reed returned to the engine levels, his burns wrapped, his steps slow. He did not complain. He rebuilt systems using spare parts that were never meant to fit together. The engines hummed unevenly, but they held. Every small success mattered. Outside, the alien fleet watched. Their sensors recorded fewer panic signals. Human movement became smoother, quieter. The expected chaos did not grow. It shrank. This is inefficient, one alien mind observed. They should be collapsing, another replied. Alien attacks continued, but they hit less often. Human ships avoided the strongest blows. Damaged vessels survived longer than predicted. Confusion spread through the alien command. They are adapting, a signal passed through their network. The aliens did not understand why. Their history showed that species under such loss usually fought harder in anger or gave up in despair. Humans did neither. They did not charge. They did not beg. They endured. Daniel Moore led another small maneuver, drawing alien fire away from a transport ship filled with civilians. His fighter took a hit. Warning lights flashed red. Daniel, pull back, his wingmate shouted. Give me 5 seconds, Daniel replied calmly. He rolled his ship, fired a short burst, then pulled away. The alien beam followed him, missing the transport. The transport jumped to safety. Daniel's fighter limped back to the Galactica, smoke trailing behind it. On the command deck, James Carter watched the fleet still exist, still move. He said nothing, but his shoulders eased slightly. Emily Brooks continued watching patterns, adjusting advice with each new move. She spoke less, listened more. The aliens changed angles, but not enough. They were learning too slowly. Inside the alien fleet, debate grew. These humans should be broken, one mind insisted. They lose ships, another said. They lose people. Yet they remain connected, a third replied. The aliens watched humans gather the dead with care. They saw no celebrations, no surrender. Only quiet purpose. They did not understand this kind of strength. To the aliens, strength was speed, firepower, control. To humans, strength was staying together when nothing made sense anymore. The Galactica moved on, scarred and dim, but alive. The fleet followed, fewer than before, but steady. No songs were sung. No speeches were made. But in silence, humanity resisted. And for the first time since the attacks began, the aliens hesitated. It was about thinking clearly, acting bravely, and caring for others. The spark of humanity, he knew, could shine in any form. And in this alien city, surrounded by both humans and aliens who had learned to trust and respect him, Alex finally felt whole. He smiled at Emily. We are humans, he said. And now we are more than that. We are a bridge. A spark. A hope. And in the soft glow of the alien city, with children playing safely, humans learning, and aliens respecting them, Alex knew it was true. Humanity was alive, not in the body but in the mind, the courage, and the heart. and that spark would never die.